Liquid funds.
Liquid funds.
Liquid funds and REITs and InvITs yielding 12% plus.
That's a good thing. But
Private credit, by the way, is yielding 18%. 18%. Some funds 20%. The conservative funds about 14%.
True.
So good time to invest.
But
no, see, that's the point.
Contra.
No.
Will you play contra?
The only
question.
only one person who can invest in private credit and who has a capability is Niraj Shah.
Which is why I asked him. Sir, would you invest?
I'll give you guys a hack. The hack is this, that I'm not, by the way, but I'm telling you, if you are an accredited investor, you don't have to invest 1 crore in an AIF. You can even invest 25 lakh rupees. A lot of AIF fund managers, please friends, don't, anybody who's watching this who's a friend and an AIF manager, don't hit me. But AIF managers want 1 crore from you, right? So typically, but accreditation is a process. But if you are an accredited investor and there are various criteria, etc., annual income has to be above a particular level, total income.
Sir, आप उसमें आते हो.
सुन तो लो मेरी बात. I haven't applied for accreditation. That's the point I'm making. But I don't know whether I'm there or not there. All I'm saying is, if you're an accredited investor, then you don't need to invest 1 crore in a private credit fund. You can invest less also. And private credit is giving stellar returns simply because the Indian balance sheet is clean, squeaky clean. So the chances of default are very less.
You know, while you're right that Indian balance sheet,
corporate balance sheet, not personal balance sheet.
But you need to be very careful which sectors that private credit
हाँ,
is investing.
Of course.
ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए 5 साल पहले जैसे रियल एस्टेट में सब जाके इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं 18, 19 और 30, 15, 25% के लिए और सब
बॉस
डूब रहे हैं.
ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड देख के जाओ ना.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड देख के जाओ.
वही है ना कि AF is not as transparent as a mutual fund.
That's okay.
Simple as it.
But the fund house wants its credibility to be intact. तो अगर फंड हाउस बोल रहा है कि हमने अपने 5 साल में या अपने 20 साल के इसमें हमारा जो doubtful debt या bad debt था was less than 1%, and that is the policy that we are going to follow, written in the document, then you have trust. इससे ज़्यादा क्या trust करोगे फिर तो आप? Then तो you can doubt anything in the world. But anyways, guys,
में डाउट सब पे करना चाहिए.
नहीं अगर इतना डाउट करो तो फिर आपको FD में ही रखना पड़ेगा सर.
फिर म्यूचुअल फंड में डालो. क्या ट्रांसपेरेंट कि मेरा पैसा
हो
कहाँ जा रहा है?
सकता है but नहीं. Anyways, the last point is, on the last point on this is, private credit fund which is providing, let's say, which is promising above 16% या 18%, comes with that bit of risk. अगर आपको safety चाहिए तो yes, then go to on the lower private credit funds as well. There are funds which are saying कि we will give you 13%, not 20%. Then there are mutual funds which are saying 10-11%. Then there are, so वैसे फिर तो होता जाता है बाद में FD, बाद में ये वो NPS etc. and stuff. But
currently it's the
for a
contra
person
play,
who wants to do this risk, ऐसा हाँ. But
currently it's the contra play.
No, so the contra play is this.
Are they?
No, I'm saying private credit is not the contra play anymore. Private credit has been now very, very high for the last 2 years. But I think फिर भी cycle और 3-4 साल चल सकता है until the Indian corporate balance sheet starts worsening. जब तक वो वर्स नहीं हो रहा है तब तक NPA का चांस कम है.
मुझे एक बताओ, means it's contra to the entire statement that private Indian balance sheet has cleaned up. If your Indian balance sheet has cleaned up, then you shouldn't be getting credited 18% or 18 के ऊपर. Simple as my point is very simple.
No, but I think what
simple.
मैं बताऊँ क्यों?
आप कह रहे हो AA, AAA वाले कंपनी
अरे बाबा सुन लो, हाँ मेरी बात सुन. उसमें so the way I have understood this, all right, from fund managers is this, and these are credible guys, okay? But the way I have understood this is कि वो लोग सारा का सारा 18% 20% में नहीं करते सर. A portion of the portfolio goes even at 28%, which is backed by assets hypothecated to such an extent कि आपको लगा प्रमोटर इतना क्यों देने को होता है यार. बट ये क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि वो प्रमोटर ने अगर वो होटल बांध रहा है, राइट, 200 रूम की होटल बांध रहा है, 170 में पैसे खत्म हो गए. अगर 30 रूम और खत्म नहीं करेगा, होटल को परमिशन नहीं मिलती, ये नहीं मिलती है, वो 30 रूम के लिए वो 28% देने को भी तैयार है, बिकॉज इन द एंड he is getting back. But anyways, we can go on and on with this. Let's take questions. By the way, it's 12:38. We'll start taking questions from 12:42. That's a commitment. But opening thoughts, Hersh.
So, I'll start by taking a cue on what we were discussing in the newsroom maybe an hour or so back as to whether markets have really bottomed at this point, because you're seeing price to earnings ratios which were on the index, small cap as well as mid cap, on the index, which had had rocketed a bit, maybe towards the 40, and even in fact reached 40, now come off quite sharply. And we were just looking at the 1 year forward, and it was looking largely at your or near your 5-year averages. So now not only is the Nifty trading at near 5-year averages, you also have the broader market starting to look decent.
Sorry,
I'm not
way
saying-
lower than 5-year averages. Way lower than 10-year
So the
averages.
mid cap is
also.
above, sir. Mid
cap
cap
is-
is
small
above.
caps is below.
Small caps is below, and
Yeah,
therefore
way
I'm
below.
saying
50 is, I think, little above.
बॉस आप स्मॉल कैप का एवरेज मल्टीपल देखो फिलहाल
अभी कितना है?
on just 8% growth or 9%, चलो 9% growth, not more. 9% is realistic मेरे हिसाब से तो ज़्यादा ही
cap
होगा.
के लिए.
FY26 you don't think we'll grow at 9% small cap index? Multiple.
उससे ज़्यादा ग्रो होना चाहिए.
मैं अब 9% दे रहा हूँ. तो निफ्टी स्मॉल कैप 250 at 9% growth for FY26 is trading at 22 times. 10-year averages are?
26.
26.
Sorry, they're not 26. They're higher, right?
Mid cap is higher, sir.
Small cap 250,
is
you had showed me 28 times.
Anyways, it's
29.
20%
Yes,
below.
yes, you're right. 29.
Yeah,
My bad.
28 times, right? 28,
My bad.
29
Yeah.
times. And even if you say
I'll
that
recheck
averages
that.
are wrong, मैं बोल रहा हूँ बॉस, अगर आप सिर्फ normal बुद्धि लगाओ, when was the last time you saw the small cap index trading at 1 year forward multiples of 20 times or 21 times?
Yeah, 29 times.
And this is only on a
10-year
9% earnings growth estimate. If the small cap 250 earnings grow even 13% or 14% for FY26, right? Then this multiple is not even 21 times. Then its multiple is probably maybe 17 times.
So you're saying that small cap is bottomed out?
पता है, but this अभी
It looks good. That's, I mean,
exactly
that's,
now
that's the underlying
one
point.
doesn't know the selling may take the index way lower also.
Yeah,
right?
pendulum will swing the other way, which is
Yeah,
what
is
I was
there-
asking
is
the
there a
other day.
small-
Yeah.
Is there a
But-
small cap ETF which is there? No, na? है
मोतीलाल
हाँ, है,
ओसवाल का है
मोतीलाल का है
शायद।
ना? एक है ना? एक या दो है?
नहीं नहीं, एक या दो होंगे, ज्यादा होंगे, मुझे पता नहीं है, बट हाँ, बट
होने चाहिए, but
इंटरेस्टिंग
I no reason why
इंटरेस्टिंग
they should.
स्टैट्स. कितना नीचे जाएगा नहीं पता है. नाउ एवरीबॉडी इज लर्नड कि बॉस बॉटम तो कॉल ही नहीं करना है.
नहीं, बॉटम कॉल नहीं करना है, पर अगर आपको लगता है कि फंडामेंटली योर वैल्यूएशंस आर मच बिलो 5-year averages, which is you are saying the pre-COVID level के लिए
10-year averages.
हाँ, तो then you should look at the kind of growth that may come in आगे जाके. Simple as that.
या
That's what it
और इंडेक्स मत खरीदो ऐसा है तो, बट वो
Sector
पूरे स्मॉल
stocks
कैप
खरीदने
को
का time
पूरे स्मॉल कैप को
you might well
बदनाम मत
start
करो.
to see that.
That's the point.
You might well start to see
Do you
that.
know
And
the selling over the last 5 months? 5 month का
what is it?
cumulative selling.
It's probably
FIIs का, FIIs
$38
का.
billion.
Yes, 38
38
billion dollars.
34 is what I thought, but 38, yeah.
38 billion means February का 5 billion ऐड करो तो 38 हो जाता है. See,
3.23
and
lakh crores.
I have a breakup with respect to कौन बेच रहा है.
हाँ.
And this is basically appropriately regulated funds, which is mutual funds, insurance companies, reinsurance companies. ये सारे companies जो हैं, they have sold means their asset under management has fallen by 5.8 lakh crores, which is 58% of the total asset under management.
Basically actively managed funds.
Yeah. Means
We have the last 1 minute before we
Yes,
take questions.
yes.
हाँ.
Basically
Yes,
actively
yes.
managed.
मतलब ये फंड मैनेजर्स जो म्यूचुअल फंड्स के हैं वो
Correct.
क्योंकि अगर आप एक्टिवली मैनेजेस फंड जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर नीरज एक फंड मैनेज कर रहा है ही डजंट फॉल अंडर दिस कैटेगरी, ही फॉल्स अंडर कैटेगरी 2 FPI का. ये कैटेगरी 1 की बात कर रहा हूँ.
But
म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैं, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी जो रेगुलेटेड है बाय द मार्केट
More important.
ऑफ देयर कंट्रीज.
More importantly, sorry, I think what's more important is where is this money going? So if this is actively managed, where is it going? Is it in US bonds? Is it in
is going
emerging markets?
entirely
Is
there.
it going
entirely into US bonds.
और चाइना?
China?
में
Correct.
उतना
Emerging
नहीं है,
markets.
उतना नहीं है.
नहीं?
उतना नहीं है. Means the kind of flows we have seen in US markets जो हमको weekly basis में दिखता है, it's much higher.
Okay.
And China, China में we saw that movement happening in September to October, right? When we saw that China trade taking place.
Even Feb had large
little
inflows.
bit of it, not उतना. अभी now we have multiple triggers which is coming in. Wednesday को एक
But
trigger
so
है.
therefore, what changes our stance that the Nifty could bounce back? Because you're still seeing the 10-year bond yield at 4.25, and therefore all those factors are still very much the same. The factors haven't changed. Only that India has gotten a little cheaper. There's no doubt about that. Maybe
India's-
30%,
India is
20-30% cheaper.
India's
but
weightage has also come down to 16%.
fair point. So that's in passive. I'm saying active purely. If I was a money manager, it's not really changed. Those circumstances haven't really changed. Does that still mean that there is a case for skepticism? And I'm trying to lean on both of you are experienced for this.
नहीं, so simple point and so, okay, sorry, we know 42, but your last 30 seconds and then we take the questions because some of the questions are also related to that. But here's the simple point, right? कि वही हर्ष जो आपने बोला कि right now the pendulum is swinging, it can go all the way. At some point of time, the markets or the money manager, whether that happens in April, whether that happens in June, whether that happens December, किसको पता है? At some point of time, they'll realize the value. So then the bounce back can be swift as well.
Fair.
So if this stock is in your valuation zone that you always wanted, don't worry about further downsides. That's the point.
You can start accumulating.
Start accumulating, exactly. Okay, now, so I'll take the first question and then if you have a view. नहीं, मैं वो second वाला लेता हूँ, ऑटो वाला आप लीजिएगा, मैं श्रीकर रेड्डी का ले रहा हूँ because it kind of ties in with what you are trying to do, right? The ETF one. So Shrikar Reddy is asking, is ETF investment during such uncertain times a right strategy? Why Nifty next 50 corrected more than mid caps and small caps? You know, the guest today was there and talking about answered this. He said that large caps को एक साथ bracket किया जा रहा है. But if you Nifty 100 is large cap, Nifty next 50 has performed much worse than the Nifty 50 on the earnings front as well. And therefore, maybe there is reason why next 50 is fallen quite a bit more than the Nifty 50 itself.
25-26%.
हाँ, मोटा मैंने देखा नहीं है, but मोटा मोटी. So one of that could be that while not all large caps are also good, Samit Vartak on this podcast made such a fabulous point. He said everybody talks about large caps as safe, etc. If you remove banks and if you remove PSUs, the remainder Nifty 50 names, their earnings growth is really bad.
The difference between Nifty 50 and Nifty next 50 is 10%. Nifty 50 has fallen by 15 or 16% and Nifty next 50 has fallen by 26%.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right? So amazing.
From the top.
From the top. So फिर वही सोचो कि the Nifty next 50 is falling more because I'm guessing the fundamental performance of some of the businesses in the Nifty next 50, even though they are large caps, has not been as good as maybe some of the others, and hence the reason.
And there are also high growth companies as well in next 50 में.
Relative to Nifty
Relative
50.
to Nifty 50. And so, you know, a slight variation in the earnings gets punished much more.
Operating leverage on the other side.
On the side.
ठीक है. Next question.
Next question है, what can you make out of auto numbers from the rural and urban demand?
ये मिर्जा अकरम बेग का question है, right? हाँ.
Mahindra and Aisha Motor posting good numbers for February, but Hero which focus on rural
एक
India.
कोल इंडिया पे सवाल है, चलो मैं वो लेता हूँ.
पर पहले मिर्जा जी का question है ना?
Okay.
Numbers टू व्हीलर्स उतने अच्छे नहीं दिख रहे हैं हमें. Hero, Bajaj on a year-to-year basis are all not looking good. One of the reasons is that entry level पे उतनी buy नहीं हो रही और दूसरा जो है there has been some murmurs about financing issue for two wheelers. I don't know why. I've been reading a couple of reports which talks about there is a financing issue for two wheelers, and I think that's something which is hitting two wheelers.
Yeah, I mean, no indication, frankly, from lenders yet. Chola and all have not expressed any such concern, at least not to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah. But urban demand
possible,
again.
Yes, this even I have heard about this. That some auto lending में थोड़ा मरमर चल रहा है.
And urban demand is not picking up. Q3 GDP was as expected, but I think the guidance that they have given for CSO has given for Q4 means that we are going to grow at 7.6. RBI खुद बोलता है 6.6 में grow करेगा. So it's an aggressive guidance which CSO is pegging for Q4, meaning private consumption will grow near 10% in Q4, जो कि much lower था Q3 में 7.2 के आसपास. So I don't know how that this number, what to figure out of this number. And then there's an X factor of Mahakumbh which you all are talking about. I haven't seen the Ayodhya factor playing out in the GDP numbers much. So I don't know whether this should be factored in.
इस बार तो
Mahakumbh is different.
One of the officials mentioned this.
Last time also one of the officials mentioned it, and there were 5 brokerages who came out with a report on that.
Brokerage, चलो एक बात है मैं बोल रहा हूँ. I think who Mr. Anant Nageshwaran I think or somebody else mentioned.
The CA mentioned about.
The CA mentioned it, right?
Mentioned about, and there was last time भी also हमने ये बात की थी ना कि this religious tourism, how it's going to create that ecosystem.
But सचित इस बार तो मैंने लोगों की आइटिनरी देखी है भाई. People who gone to
वही लोग गए थे.
No.
इस बार मैं बोल रहा हूँ मेरे दोस्तों की आइटिनरी मैंने देखी है. People who went to Mahakumbh at time, some people actually didn't even do the dip. होली स्नान उनको सिर्फ वो देखना था स्पेक्टेकल. देख के बाद में दे वेंट अक्रॉस. मैंने आइटिनरी देखी है, फ्लाइट टिकट्स देखी है, सब कुछ देखा है.
So let's figure. That's why
Let's
I said
see.
it's an X factor which is there. कि वो कितना influence करेगा.
वैसे a very so just before you take the Coal India point. So sorry. So just to answer the question, is rural India? What does it tell you about rural India? I think difficult to say, but it seems to be that rural is reviving. Now, whether the revival is very strong or no, Mirza ji ka question ये था, remains to be seen. But a very important point that a very interesting and a funny point that came in. A very renowned fund manager writes a column on a weekly basis in one of the newspaper dailies. His today's
नाम दे
column.
दो अगर नाम आ गया तो पेपर में आता तो नाम ही आ गया ना.
Pseudonym में लिखते हैं वो.
अच्छा.
हाँ, उन्होंने लिखा है कि while all of this is happening, कुंभ वाला कुंभ stocks और कुंभ portfolio, an unknown, मतलब मस्ती में लिखा है, but उन्होंने बोला कि मस्ती नहीं है, genuinely सोचो कि so many people lost their footwear.
I heard about this.
Yes.
1 crore one.
So many people lost their footwear.
I am he was talking about it. But I heard
Don't
the
laugh.
counter also from.
No, but that is a wrong counter.
Relax,
अगर
sir.
आप सोच रहे हो नहीं, आप सोच रहे हो 1 करोड़ जूते.
तमन्ना बोला 1 करोड़ के अगर गए तो 1 करोड़ को मिले भी तो हैं.
ना वही बोल रहा हूँ, वैसे नहीं हुआ है ना, because some people have lost their footwear. एक
only
चप्पल है,
single
एक
एक
चप्पल कहीं नहीं
चप्पल,
है,
हाँ.
तो ऐसा नहीं है कि वो पूरा तमन्ना का आर्गुमेंट थोड़ा फ्लिमजी था मेरे हिसाब से. But be that as it may, it was fun. So we were just continuing that debate. But the point is this कि चलो जूते छोड़ दो बॉस, इतना टूरिज्म हुआ है. I'm 100% sure it'll show in the numbers by inches. So that's a small thing. Sorry, Coal India, Hersh.
Yeah, so again, very interesting.
किनका
because
question है,
Coal
sorry?
India has, one second, I'll
Vigin Dharan.
begin the run. Yeah. So begin again with regard to where Coal India is concerned, it's interesting because stock has fallen from 550 to now nearly 350. Market cap also therefore has fallen quite a bit. Now just broad level numbers from what I recall in terms of estimates for Coal India does roughly 50 rupees of EPS approx, does around 35,000 crore of profit after tax, has around maybe 6,000-7,000 crore of depreciation. So if I just add back depreciation to profit after tax just to kind of compute cash flow in the purest sense possible, it's around 40,000 crore with regard to free cash flow that comes out of it. Good dividend distributing company as well. Trading at roughly 6 times earnings, maybe 7 times earnings पकड़ के चलते हैं, and around 5 times free cash flow if I just add back depreciation to EBITDA. Of course the correction is sharp, but couple of risks also that you need to be mindful of is there's a sharp and quick phasing out with regard to coal, thermal. You also have nuclear now coming in and participating. There's been this shift with regard to government policy. How long can coal go on for? Coal India itself has revised their targets for with regard to 1 billion tons, achieving 1 billion tons of output. Earlier was FY27, they've pushed it back by a year or two, and therefore is there some negativity there? Possibly. But does thermal get phased out completely? I don't think so.
It doesn't, but there's only fundamental factor
just
which
try
is,
to break down
yeah,
as much as I can.
So just to add to the fundamental factor, they have gone ahead and put a levy of 300 rupees per ton.
Correct. So that will add straight 4,000 crore.
4,000 crores, but a large part of it going to be used for R&R purposes. तो EBITDA में आएगा और प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी में भी में आएगा और
सीधा पैट पे आएगा.
सीधा पैट पे आएगा. और दूसरा जो है उसमें ये जो इशू वो है कि volumes they've been lagging the targets.
Correct, exactly. 1 billion का जो
वो that's the only thing which is there. Otherwise pricing की वजह से इस बार के numbers Q4 के numbers अच्छे आएंगे और Q1 के भी अच्छे आएंगे आगे जाके. So that's
so broadly this was just some considerations that you need to keep in mind if Coal India is part of your something you are interested in.
और कौन सा
सजीत प्रसाद सावंत का क्वेश्चन आप ले लो.
क्या है, क्या बोल रहे हो?
Will correction in US markets, especially in US banks, and adoption of internal LLM, will it start a new leg of
Basically,
correction in Indian tech?
Yeah, so
and
basically
banking?
you're talking about whether AI would be used by US banks. See, regulatory in nature, AI will not be used as such, but it will be part of the product portfolio or at least client-facing portfolios. और client facing end मतलब front end में आपको AIs दिखेंगे, आपको bots दिखेंगे, वो सब दिखेंगे. तो वो जो है वो यूज़ हो रहा है. एंड आई थिंक मेनी ऑफ द IT companies are also saying that the new incremental deals which are coming in has a AI component in it. So yes, from that point of view, you're going to see AI playing a big role for not only just US banks but in India also in some of the banking sector as regulation gets framed for how to use AI in banking. But the bigger issue is that will it impact Indian IT companies? Discretionary spends as we speak may get impacted, and that's primarily because of longer means higher rates for longer term that's coming into play in US because of the kind of inflationary pressure which is coming from Trump tariff and other stuff. So IT may be under pressure. IT has already fallen, I think 18-19%, right? Since in the beginning of the beginning of the year, and today I think it's marginally higher, means flat here basically. So IT will remain under pressure. What we are seeing today is a slight bounce back which is coming in after the steep fall we saw on Friday. 4% fall we saw on Friday. उसके बाद ये आ रहा है. But I don't think the pain is over for IT. Discretionary spends are getting slower, and companies are are going to struggle with respect to Q4, and next 2 quarters also is going to be everyone is talking about H2 will be a better one in FY26. Now H2 is at risk for being a better one, and that's something which April 2nd will decide.
Okay.
I also want to highlight one piece here. I was listening to a podcast of Joe Rogan. He's done a podcast with Elon Musk. Elon Musk has said that in the next year or two, in the next 1 to 2 years, AI will totally disrupt the way in which we work, because AI will just be as good as any individual sitting in this room or otherwise, is what he says. And second, by 2030, he's saying AI will be better than all of the human race combined. That's his prediction, Elon Musk. And that could be a big game changer, of course, in IT as well, to some extent. In my
take the Venkat Kalyan, translate lighting's results, power sector outlook. What does it say? Transmission companies basically.
ये Translate got a very large order as well a few days back. यार वही है, this is the pendulum swinging the other way, that people are not seeing something. I was told one of the transformer companies is now available at 20 times trailing earnings. Trailing, not forward. Forward तो और भी cheaper होगा, right? So this this entire chain has, everything is getting sold. This is also getting sold. I don't know the individual valuations of Translate, I'll be very honest. So I don't know. I haven't even looked at the numbers to be very honest. But the limited point being, कि forward multiples शायद कौन कॉल जान के पता चलेगा. Maybe we'll call the management for an interview and try and understand from them how do they think about the quarters ahead. But every power sector related company that has come on air has spoken very confidently about business for the next quarter and for FY26 at the very least. Actually, even beyond that. So things are okay.
What
there.
I'm suggesting to our viewers is give us your suggestion on which company you want to hear from, and we'll bring them on TV.
Transrail. Let's call Transrail.
And
so
let's
Transrail,
do that.
I'll also try and sum it up very quickly. 6,700 crore in market cap, trailing 12 months price to earnings. I don't have the 1 year forward, sorry to say, 29 times. And I'm just going to quickly look at growth. It has grown. FY21 top line was 2200 crore, no change in FY22, mota moti 100 crore का change था. FY23 3150 crore, 2200 crore से 3200 crore in a matter of 2 to 3 years. 24 का 4077 crore है. और trailing 12 months का मैं अगर just broad level number देखूँ तो 17 and around 4,000 crore hai. Around 4,200 crore odd hai. So that's the kind of number and that's the kind of trajectory of growth. And PAT has grown from 100 to 233 crore. So 2.5x almost in the last 3 years. So that's the trajectory. Just to kind of simplify it for viewers.
Kushal Takalia, how do you feel about India focused sectors like cement and sugar? Good companies in these sectors are available at deep discounts to these averages, which is right. That's how हम बोल रहे हैं कि ये सारे के रहे हैं, but we don't know where the bottom is.
So Parag Thakkar today was on air and he was saying that his channel check suggests that north में और सब जगह पे pricing has actually gone up. South में we know that pricing has gone down by the way, But our North Paraktakar is saying the prices have gone
ये
up.
2 महीने का ट्रेंड है. लास्ट 2 मंथ से हम देख रहे हैं कि the slight increase in pricing happening in north as capex is trying to pick up. I guess that's what, if you correlate all those things, it is. But
By the way, he also said that Birla Corp, he was saying Birla Corp,
Birla
and he said
Corp
Birla Corp operates in the UP region where Mahakumbh is happening. But
Interesting.
so upticks there.
Yeah, but
sugar.
Feb numbers are indicating that sugar production has fallen because cane production has come down a bit. That could be some issues going forward because अगर 14% से गिरा है आपका पूरा season का up to Feb 28 sugar production, then there could be some restrictions that can come on some of the exports that was opened up, or maybe even conversion of those sugar into ethanol or something, you know. So be careful of this sector because it's more linked to consumer inflation, consumer demand and government regulation. ये कब कैसे play out करेगा, you have no idea on it, you know. So we can only go by the data which is coming in agri, because the impact happens on a delayed basis by the time the government reacts and they put everything in place. So that's something which you need to be very careful.
Okay. What else?
Shreya.
How to analyze platform companies like PB Fintech, First Cry, Root. Root isn't a platform company, by the way. Must mention.
CPAS.
Root is not a platform company. I don't think Zaggle is also not a platform
No,
company.
Zaggle is not a platform company.
PB Fintech and First Cry.
So PB Fintech, maybe I can take that. So PB Fintech loss making. I think last year profit was 60 odd crore rupees, but the scale and speed at which they're growing is extremely fast. And mind you, it's a platform company in a monopoly business. Not too many platform companies which does insurance distribution, right? And trying to be a disruptor of sorts as well. So they are investing fresh capital into hospitals, etc. So you have to be wary of the fact that some of these companies will do capital allocation which may not necessarily succeed. I'm not saying PB Fintech won't or PB Fintech will. I'm just saying that you will have to factor that in when you are thinking of these companies. Now, in terms of guidance, they've guided for 1,000 crore of profit after tax by FY27, which broad consensus seems to be very reasonable because they are clocking a 30% growth on the base that they are at in terms of top line, and largely a lot of that will flow through to the bottom line, and therefore your profit will only expand because operational efficiency will kick in because it's a platform company at the end of the day. So if it were to go to 1,000 crore, the better way to look at this also is how much cash they are holding. They are holding 5,000 crore rupees of cash currently, if I recall right. Ballpark, maybe 5,500, 5,500 in that region. And a lot of that will also be yielding some amount of cash flow annually, and that will also be flowing to profit after tax. So the correct way to look at it is operating profit. How much are they making, and how much is it worth currently in terms of market cap, and try and see whether that valuation matches with what you would really want. That's one way to look at it. The other way is just look at profit after tax and say that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, look at the cash flows of these platform companies.
Yeah, but essentially that's what.
Essentially that's
profit
what.
after tax.
Means if you look at Brainbees, which is First Cry parent. 12-month trailing 7,400 crores turnover, which is there. On an operating level, it has a 247 crore profit, which is there. But on a PAT level, it's negative nearly 200 crores of loss on a trailing 12-month basis. So look at the kind of cash flow they are able to generate on a quarterly basis, and then you take a call on platform companies. And these are going to be long-term bets because these companies require time to mature, time to generate, and then the tech leverage plays out in them after a point in time. So for incremental demand which comes into for them, the tech cost is much lower for them, and so that goes directly down to the bottom line. But we are still a nascent market with respect to platform companies, whether it is Zomato, whether it's Swiggy, whether it's First Cry, whether it's PB is little mature in that sense because it's a transactional kind of business which is there. So every time you go and ask a loan, you get amount, or you do insurance, you get a commission which comes into play.
Yeah, Zaggle is the time. Can I take Zaggle as well?
Yeah.
So Zaggle is a classic business which is basically leveraging on a software to try and tap into newer clients and get scale. So they've gone from 1,000 crore in terms of top line. Currently, they are expected to continue to grow at roughly 50%. And maybe FY 27-28, they should reach that number of around 3,000 crore in terms of top line. And what they've also guided for is by FY 28, margins will hit 15-16%. So let's make some fundamental assumptions here. If you are someone who relies on EBITDA, now just a caveat here, Buffett, Munger, they generally don't like that term. But if you are one of those who likes that term, 14% odd on a top line of roughly 3,000 odd crore comes to around 420 crore. If I exclude tax, interest is minimal, frankly. If I exclude tax, it'll just reduce 25 odd percent. And therefore, you'll have around 300 crore of PAT. You're currently trading at around 4,500 crore, if I recall right, in terms of market cap. I know a lot of these companies' market cap has moved, so just keep your eye out on that. And therefore, you have your broad-based multiples on what it trades at. Also, it's deploying cash in fresh acquisitions, and that will add to the top line only. And they are also collaborating very quickly, but it's not a business with a deep moat. It's largely a business which has proven itself. They have a very strong software, and now they're just trying to scale. Can someone else come in and disrupt it? I would suppose so.
Can any card company come and disrupt SBI cards?
I would suppose so. I don't think that there is a very deep moat there per se, but the fact is that they
have the first mover advantage.
They have the first mover advantage, and they are leveraging on that. They are sacrificing margins to ensure that top line grows very, very quickly.
एक आखिरी क्वेश्चन प्राज पे आपका फेवरेट
सर 20 सेकंड्स में खत्म करते हैं. नहीं यार, ये 1 year आउटलुक डिफिकल्ट है देना थोड़ा, बिकॉज़
कंपनी का क्या लगता है?
नो, द पॉइंट इज सो दे आल्सो हैड अ चेंज ऑफ द एमडी. हां, सो धर्मा प्रोडक्शन, कनेक्ट मीडिया, दिस गाय इज अ पूरा प्रोडक्शन हाउस का. नहीं, बट ये प्रॉब्लम ये है कि there has been some chop and change in the numbers the last few times. Then Shishir Joshipura is moving on, so there is a new guy coming at the helm. Bioenergy space is correct, but somehow the numbers haven't been that great in the last few quarters, and which is the stock has actually been sluggish and been corrective, if you will. So I think once the new MD comes in, outlines his strategy, that's when you will get to know. Change of affairs, the past is very different from what happens in the future. The change at the helm. I think MD change हो रहा है, तो I think you need to give it time to see what can happen there. Very difficult to predict right now. I don't think anybody should try and attempt to say what will happen to Praj right now.
Declining top line actually. So
thank you.
And subscribe to.
Oh yes, please hit the bell icon. We appreciate all subscriptions.
Yes. and send your
companies.
We'll get them on TV.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank you guys.
लिक्विडिटी नहीं है भाई, वैल्यूएशन तो मस्त है.
किसका?